In this podcast, I shall explain the concept of encapsulation. Encapsulation is a mechanism used to restrict access to the object's components, and it is also used as an information hiding mechanism. Basically, encapsulation has to do with what are known as the getters and setters of a class. As usual, I am going to load NetBeans, and here we have the class person with 3 attributes, the name, the surname and the age, and here we have a couple of methods. As you know, during our last podcast, we have set these attributes to be private, and some of these methods are also private. From our main class here, we are invoking the method enter details on object P of type person, and then we invoke the method display details, which is used to display our details on the screen. However, please note that since here in class person we have set these 3 attributes to be private, if we go in the main method, we do not have access directly to those attributes. So if I type p dot, as you can see here, we do not have access to the name, the surname and the age. And that is basically the concept of encapsulation, because when we are using this concept, we set all of our attributes here to be private. But what should we do if we would like to give access from outside of this class to these attributes? And the answer for this question is to use what are known as getters and setters. I am going to start first by explaining the setters. The setters are methods which obviously are public, and they are used to allow the programmer from outside this class to set specific values to the to the attribute. So for example, if we want to be able to set a value to this name attribute from outside our class, that is from here, we should go in class person, and I am going to write the setter for this particular attribute. And a setter is defined by writing public void, as it is not going to return anything, and the name of the method should be set, and then I am going to append the name of the attribute to this set here. So this method is going to be called setName. Notice that after the set, the first letter of the attribute name is set to be in uppercase. Then I am going to write a parameter. In our case, since name is a string, I am going to add a parameter string, and I am going to call this parameter n. I am going to open and close the curly brackets. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to set this name attribute to this n. So I'm going to write name equals name equals n. So in reality, when the parameter n is passed to this method, the value stored in n is set in the attribute name. Now if we go in our main method here, and I write p dot set name, I can include also the value of our name. And what is happening is that when the Java compiler encounters this line of code, this method setName is going to be invoked, this argument here, the value Matthew, is going to be passed in this parameter n. There is going to be the value Matthew, and this attribute name is going to be set with the value of this argument n. I am going to include a breakpoint here, and I am going to debug this program. And as you can see here, if I execute that line of code, this method is now being executed, and n contains in it the value Matthew, as you can see also from here. Now this name, which is currently null, when this line of code is going to be executed, in this name, attribute name, there is going to be the value Matthew, as you can see, that was passed as a parameter from here. And that is the setter. And I'm going to stop the execution of this program. And I am going to add also the setters for the surname and the age. So public void set surname. As you know, surname is string, so I'm going to add the parameter string s, and I'm going to set the value of surname to s. The same thing applies for age. Set age. However, as age is an integer, the argument here is going to be int a, and age equals a. Now from here, we can set the surname and set the age. If I remove this enter details method and I run the file, you can see that the program has executed correctly. Now you may ask the question, why should we use these setters? First of all, by convention, when programming in OOP, we should use these getters and setters. Please note that these setters allow us to do some data validation on the setting of the attribute. For instance, consider this set age. Currently, I can set the age to be, for example, -5, and the program would run correctly. However, as you know, age cannot be a negative number, so it is possible to go in the set age method and include some data validation here. For example, by checking if a is greater than -1, then age is equal to a, otherwise else system .out.println invalid age, for instance. And if we run this program now, here we have a message saying that the age is invalid. Now I am going to explain the other encapsulation method, which is the getter. Suppose that we would like to get direct access to these attributes from outside the class, and we would like to know, for example, what is the name. And currently it is not possible to write system.out.println p.name, as the name is private, as you can see in this error here. So instead, I am going to go in class person and I am going to add the method getName. However, this time, as this method is going to return to us a value, it should have a return data type. So in our case, as name is a string, I am going to write public string get name, and we are using the same naming convention as we have used in the setters. This time we do not have any attributes, and I am simply going to return this particular attribute, so return name. Now if I go in class, in our main class, and I write p dot, I have the get name method, and if I invoke this method and I am going to remove the display details and I will run it, I am going to have the name displayed on the screen. Now I am going to add the getter for the surname, public string get surname, and the same applies for the name, for the age. However, as age is of type integer, I am going to return an int return age. And if I go in this main program, here I can invoke the get age, the get name, and the get surname, which are our getter methods. This brings us to the end of our 6th podcast. For more information, kindly visit our website on www.matthewschwireb.com.